And what's up, everybody? This is Davidson Crooks here, one half of Fast Break here live for RA Sports Radio, literally for all the sports. And you're welcome to join us. D-Locke will catch us here in a little bit with some recruiting. But first on first, the NBA playoffs are here. We look at the matchups, who's going to come out in those matchups, and also discuss the play-in because Clippers knocked down the Warriors today in a play-in matchup here later on this week. So we'll discuss all that. Plus, what are some of y'all's disappointments in the NBA season? I got a lot. D-Locke got a lot. What are some of your surprises and good moments from the NBA season? We'll discuss that as well. And also, everybody's just dead set tripping that NIL ruining everything, college basketball, football, whatever. We'll bring that subject up if time permits on that as well. But we're going to have a loaded show for y'all tonight. Lots of things to talk about, lots to get into. So after these short messages, we're going to dive into everything. But this is Fast Break here live for RA Sports Radio. You're to be following sports, and we'll get you on the other side.
Hi, eSports Radio fans. This show is brought to you by Planet Jerky Premium Brisket Beef Jerky. Planet Jerky is the official jerky of the 2022 California League champion Lake Elsinore Storm, single-A affiliate of the San Diego Padres. This all-brisket jerky has gluten-free options, contains no MSG, no sodium nitrate, is low in sugar, and high in protein. Go to their website at planetjerky.net and follow them on Instagram at Planet Jerky. Planet Jerky, the jerky that's on a whole other planet.
Rise and shine. It's 4 a.m. The stars are still out. The sun is beneath the horizon, but it's time to punch in and go to work. The comfort of your warm-ups turns into the grinding out of your reps as the clinking and the clanking of the plates create a symphony of euphoria. There's no other feeling like it. Earn it, burn it, and take what's yours. IE Sports Radio has proudly partnered with Vital Apparel, a brand that not only fits great, but also promotes and donates to mental health research. Use our code IESR to get 15% off their comfortable and inspiring gym wear and help them on their amazing journey to support mental health. Go hard, take part in your iron therapy, and be strong. Because when your mental health is as strong as you are, there's no telling how far you'll go.
Hey there, IE Sports Radio fans. Be sure to check out our sponsor, Seal the Deal Wax Seals by Cecilia B. You just finished your very own wedding or baby shower invitations and you're looking for that extra special touch? Maybe you just wrote a letter to a relative or a friend and you want to add to their smile when they receive it. Then seal the deal with Cecilia's handmade sealing wax stamps for your invitations, letters, and gifts. You bring the deal, we'll bring the seal. You can find them on Instagram at sealthedeal_wax stamps and on Facebook, Seal the Deal Wax Seals.
For the last 10 years, IE Sports Radio has been bringing you amazing content ranging from interviewing legendary athletes, coaches, and other authorized media personnel to building tailor-made shows dedicated to all major sports cities around the country. Make sure to follow us at IE Sports Radio on X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and YouTube to keep up with the latest in sports and with all of our shows. Also, make sure to check out our daily updated website at iesportsradio.com. At iesportsradio.com, you can see our daily show schedule and check out all of our show pages with personal bios to learn a little bit more about each of our awesome hosts. In addition to our show pages, you can catch the IE Sports Radio blog, Hall of Fame, Fans of the Month page, and our merchandise shop including t-shirts, tank tops, caps, long sleeves, hoodies, and more. For now over a decade here at IE Sports Radio, we've continued to be by the fans, for the fans, and we thank you all for your support and for making IE Sports Radio your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back here to Fast Break here live for IE Sports Radio. Your tweet for all is sports. And I'm trying to make myself a little bit bigger. There we go. All right. So welcome back to the show. We're going to have a lot of things talk about in the world of NBA, because I know we've been heavy college basketball the past month with March Madness, all that going on. Transfer portal, still, discuss about, levy about, as an Alabama fan, right here, some things that has been happening and stuff like that. So stuff like that going on with them and all that good stuff. So a lot of stuff still to talk about in the world of college basketball, and the transfer portal is not stopping it. Oh, like the women's side, it's like you just look up every time like somebody else is going in there. The men's, Darren Reed, Stevenson from Alabama leaving, a lot of names still in there. And then, the kid from Baylor, Wright, who left Baylor and took a $3 million deal to go BYU. So now you're talking about BYU probably be one of the better teams next year. And then you got the college football thing. I know not basketball related, but talking about the NIL and stuff like that, going college sports. No, it's not. It's not at all. But you see the ticker right there. Do follow IE Sports Radio on all your social media feeds, whether it's X, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. Try and get those YouTube numbers up. Go to iesportsradio.com for all your social media, social media news, shows, news feed, and all that stuff. NFL draft is coming up. So a lot of guys and gals on the network getting that last minute prep work in for the draft comes around, all that stuff. So do check out that. Also, go to our own personal website, iesportsradio.com/fastbreak. Check out our profile and stuff like that on there. Also, do give us support. Go to Spreaker.com/podcast/fastbreak. That's our number right there. Give us support, $5 a month. trying to drop some exclusives on there. You know, could be like the NIL thing. That could be just a straight exclusive right there for the folks. So, hey, you know, we could talk about it on the show, but, you know, a good 20 minutes talking about NIL. D-Locke's probably like the perfect person to talk about it because he's dealing with that right now in his world in track and field. So, you know, he told me some things yesterday after the show. We talked and all that, and all NIL, all that stuff. A lot of heavy stuff going on out there. So there may be an exclusive that we probably will work on. So that's our link right there. Give us support, $5 a month. If you love us that much, give us that the sling $5 that way. $5 like I found out in the grass today while I was cutting it. All right. Now I got all that out the way. And got that sponsorship no more. Okay. Now I got all that out of the way. We're here. The playoffs are here. A lot of action here on the NBA side today. Early today, you had the East Coast games going on first, and then all the West Coast games happen afterwards. So NBA loaded up for the most part on those side of things, and a lot of NBA action going on. Now, a lot of teams held out their starters and stuff like that. I know the Lakers did. The Rockets, they did not. You caught it to say, hey, y'all boys are playing. So they played today on the stuff. So a lot of action to the NBA and stuff like that going on today. But I think the big one today was the Clippers defeating the Warriors 124-119 in overtime. Harden, 39 points to lead the way for the Clips, and it sends the Warriors to the play-in. And which you see on y'all screen right here, the Clippers on the 5th seed against the Mike Malone fired Nuggets, if you want to put it that way. So talk about this game first and its ramifications. The Warriors, since they brought in Jimmy Butler and trade and all that stuff back by the trade deadline, have been playing very excellent ball. Not perfect, but pretty good for the most part. Butler's been a positive. It's kind of like brought a new attitude with that squad, in a sense. You know, toughness, you know, freshness to that team that kind of sort of needed it in a while for a while. Today's matchup against the Clippers, you know, he had 30 points, 9 assists, the rebound, only that one rebound that got to be better. But, played very well in overtime, 48 minutes for him. Curry had 36 points in 38 minutes, but 8 turnovers for Steph Curry in the matchup against Clippers, and kind of like do and die consequences as well. Pozinski, 19 points for him in the starting lineup as well. No Jonathan Kuminga. He did not play today. Coach's decision, don't know why. And then for the Clippers side of things, 39 points for James Harden, like I alluded to, 10 assists, 7 rebounds for him. Kawhi Leonard, 47 minutes for him, which I think if you're a Clippers fan seeing that's kind of like a great sign for y'all going to the playoff matchup against the Nuggets if he's playing these long extended minutes. And I pray to God that I don't say he never be fully back, but if Kawhi Leonard is playing good, healthy minutes like that, and it continues to hold up, for the Clippers, I think the Clippers would be a very dangerous team in the playoffs. And you kind of see the matchups here. If you see the matchup here between the Nuggets, Clippers right here, and the way the Nuggets, the coach, Mike Malone, got fired, all that stuff, Allen taking over, is like you really kind of trying to think, damn, could Denver get got in the first round? You know what I'm saying? Can they get got in the first round? That's a good, honest question. Can this team get got in the first round? So you look at all these things. You're looking. Clippers playing well. The Nuggets. I mean, Jokic, averaged a triple double for the season. Great job for him. But after that, what else do you got? You know what I'm saying? Jamal Murray's played been okay this year. Michael Porter Jr., he's been all right to a point. Christian Braun been playing very well for them all year. And then, you got the Russell Westbrook thing that Calvin Booth was kind of against, and Mike Malone kind of balked at that, loves Russ. And both the asses got shown the door for it. And it seemed like the Nuggets players were kind of tired of Mike Malone's message and stuff like that. And it happens in sports. But, if you kind of, take that in consideration, could the breath of fresh air in the voice and stuff like that, and element change things? I don't know. Will they play better? I don't know. How he's going to do these rotations. I mean, the Pickett kid has been playing pretty well for Denver, but can that carry over to the playoffs? Playoffs are a different beast. You're playing against a very good Clipper team. Nice scoring trio in Leonard, Norman Powell, and James Harden. Zubac has been playing very well this year. Down low. So that matchup right there, circling around, that's a matchup that Denver didn't want to see. And then depending on what come out here, if OKC win their first round matchup, that's a matchup that OKC don't kind of see right there in the second round. Barring, Kawhi Leonard himself. And some of y'all probably thinking like, what about James Harden and stuff like that? Norman Powell and all that's good and stuff. And Norman Powell's been playing great. He should have got the All-Star nod. After that stuff LeBron did not want to play and stuff like that. I wish LeBron would say something sooner. They could call Norman Powell up and got him in there. But I think this team goes as Kawhi goes. And if the good indicator that he's playing 47 minutes in an overtime game against the Warriors, I've seen the Warriors down here to play Memphis in a play-in. I like their odds in that first round matchup against the Nuggets. I really, really do. I got to put early odds on it. Give me the Clippers in 7. Because, Jokic by himself, he'll win you some games and whatnot. But give me the Clippers in 7. If I go early, Clippers in 7. And stay in the theme of, get my stuff back up here real quick. Who wins the play-in matchups? And we can go to the chat. Hold on, Chris. For the chat, real quick. For the sake of Mike Malone, I hope the Nuggets fall in his first round. The Clippers have been on a tear late. Yeah. Yes. Yeah, the Clippers have been on a tear very I can get my words right. Has been on a tear lately. I do agree with that, Mr. Rodriguez. They've been playing very good ball. And at one point, as a Laker fan, I thought a good favorable matchup for them would be being against the Clippers in that 3-6 matchup. Now I'm kind of like, oh God, thank God. And the potentially won't see them to at least the Western Conference Finals if the Lakers make that far. But now, seeing the seeding and stuff how it is right now, that's a good possibility you don't see them to at least to the Western Conference Finals. But the coaching change, like you brought up, how much does that play a factor into things? Come for the Nuggets. Who in the Nuggets on that team was kind of tired of his message? It's a fair question. A fair question. You know what I'm saying? A legit fair question that, was everybody tired of the message? Was it Jokic? Was it Michael Porter Jr.? Was it Eric Gordon? Jamal Murray? Some of the younger guys. I don't believe the younger guys, but I kind of want to look towards at the older guys. Jokic, Murray, Michael Porter. And then we seen reports that ownership didn't want to trade Michael Porter Jr. because he played at Missouri for just a handful of games and didn't want to trade him. Because I guess marketability in Missouri. I know the Crooks are from Missouri, but it's like you kind of looking at things like one thing is not like the other. It's not like Michael Porter Jr. didn't, lead Mizzou to a national championship. If he was fully healthy during that time, he could have, but he didn't. It didn't happen. So, if you had a kid, you kind of wanted to get traded to get better, and ownership stopped it. Does that play in factor to things? Where's his sake at? Eric Gordon, where's his health? On this. He's missed some good chunk of games this year. Not saying the Clippers have their share of injuries, but it better question. But y'all, if y'all just joining in, I got the Clippers early on win that series in 7. I think the main factor for me, Kawhi Leonard staying healthy all the way through. If he went out like he did last year against the Dallas Mavericks, then I say the Nuggets win in 6. But right now, the Nuggets in 7. And shout out to Jess. Thank you for doing it with us tonight, ma'am. Glad to have you in the network with us here on iSports Radio. Brian Francione. Good evening, Davidson. Hello, sir. How are you doing tonight? So, back to the big screen right here. Who wins the play-in matchups? Let's go to the East real quick. We got the Bulls in the 9th seed against the 10th seed Miami Heat. Now, if you look at this matchup on paper, these teams have met in the play-in before. And this is the Bulls. I think Mr. One Anna Carter, he said this is their 3rd year in a row in the play-in. Let me double check to be sure because he did comment about that. Pull it up. Yeah, 3rd year in the play-in. So 3 years in the play-in for Chicago Bulls. Now, with saying that, we say that the Bulls have, over the second half of this season, have been playing very well for the most part. Josh Giddey is kind of looking like the draft lottery pick that a lot of folks envisioned. Kobe White, why not like a true point guard, is like a combo guard, more of a scoring guard, and really kind of found his role in the NBA now. He's not a point guard; he's more of like an off guard in a sense, more like a David. if y'all remember David Wesley, David Wesley used to play for like the Hornets, Rockets. I think I'm missing a team in there or so, but he's kind of like in the mold of David Wesley. Wesley's like 6'1", 6'2" shooting guard for most of his career. So that's what Kobe White's kind of turned into, David Wesley. Not bad at all. David Wesley had a good long career and all that stuff, but that's what Kobe White is now. In a sense of you looking at NBA trajectories. So you look at this matchup. The Bulls been playing pretty well here for the last few games. Giddey's been playing well. All the stuff that happened with him last year, I think maybe behind him, unless he's doing stuff under wraps that nobody knows about, but mostly under wraps. I mean, he must be quiet and stuff like that. Ain't no BS for him, all that stuff. Good for him. If you look at this matchup, the Heat all year we've been hearing about Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler won the contract. Pat Riley don't want to budge. Jimmy Butler not showing the game, trying to set a point. Having a cold war with Pat Riley. Pat Riley suspends him. All that good stuff. Yada, yada, yada. And it's kind of this BS that's kind of like this held his team back and all that stuff. Now, today, they didn't play their main guys today. Wiggins didn't play. Bam didn't play. Hero didn't play. Alec Burks didn't play as well. They got to go up to Chicago. I'm trying to think who could come out on this and what's the main X factor in this matchup. For me, I look at it like Josh Giddey is that X factor for the Bulls. An X factor in this matchup. And one thing about Miami right now, they don't really have a true point like that. I know they've been having Tyler Hero in that position when he's out there. Davion Mitchell, they tried Terry Rozier, and he's kind of really just falling off the cliff in his play. But I look at Josh Giddey being the X factor for this team and possibly being the one to help lead his team into the next play-in matchup. Come this week. Because I think he can exploit that point guard issue for the Miami Heat and help lead his team win this game, along with one Kobe White as well. I think those two guys really got to carry the load for the Bulls for them to win this game. Now, at the Miami side of things, they do got the advantage down low with Bam and Wild down low. No, there make no space about that. They do got the advantage down there. Now, if Vooch can match what Bam does, I think that would carry a long weight. But I just think for all this talk about Heat culture and all this stuff, the grit and grind, the undrafted guys, stuff like that, I don't think that shows up in this game. And, the Bulls win this game, which I got them winning this game. I think Miami's got to have some serious conversations, about their future. Or where does this franchise go from here? Like, they always kind of hang around this part ever since the play-in being introduced. And yeah, they had a good run and stuff like that a couple years ago, but if you hang around, low enough, you get knocked out of the playoffs. And right now, they almost damn near did. So I got the Bulls win that matchup to go into the play-in for the eighth seed. On the other side of things, you got the Hawks and the Magic in the 7-8 matchup. This is a tough one. As D-Locke always said about his Orlando Magic, you can eat on the Orlando Magic guards. And with one Trae Young, Dyson Daniels, they could eat on the Orlando Magic guards. But I think, before the injuries took them out, Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero been playing pretty well. And I think with them back in the fold and things, at one point they were like at the 4th seed with Paolo out for a while and then Wagner going out. So they were at the 4th seed for a while earlier this year. With them at home, I think those two guys will carry this enough to get the Orlando Magic to the 7th spot to play the Boston Celtics. And then you got the Hawks, Bulls right here. With Chicago coming out to Atlanta. The chance to play against Cleveland. I think I'm still going to ride that Bulls momentum, and I think they'll beat the Hawks and put the Hawks out of the playoffs. So give me the Bulls in that matchup. Once again, like I said, Kobe Bryant and Josh Giddey got carried the load right there. Now, what's this mean for if the Hawks don't make it to the playoffs? I think they kind of the same boat as the Miami. Like a lot of questions. Like you had Trae Young for years. You already made one East Conference Finals. The roster seems, I don't say bloated, but like bloated with bad contracts of guys that really ain't carrying nowhere. Dyson Daniels has been a good gift from the trade from New Orleans. So you keep him in the fold. Other than that, do you give it a trade? Do you find something else? Or what can you find out there? But coming out in the East, I got the Bulls and Magic making it to the playoffs. With the Magic being the 7th seed and the Bulls being the 8th seed. And then Terry already said, having the Warriors been in the play-in 3 of the last 4 years. 2 years ago, they made playoffs at 6 and got knocked off by the Kings at 7. Yeah. They have too. They have as well. But I want to dive in that onto the other side on the other side after this break right here. So I want to take a quick break. I know we went long there. On the other side of things, I'll talk about the West real quick, talk about those matchups, and then just give a whole look as a whole in the playoffs and just go from there. But this is Fast Break here live for IE Sports Radio, your week for all sports, and I'll catch you on the other side.
Are you a fan of Minnesota sports? Do you love the Vikings and hate the Packers? Are you a fan of the Timberwolves, Twins, Wild, Lynx, St. Paul Saints? Here on the Bold North Breakdown, we'll talk about all of those professional teams as well as all the college teams in the area. That's your basketball teams, football, hockey, volleyball, men's and women's sports alike. We talk about them all. Here on the Bold North Breakdown. Join me, your host, Glenn Ritter, every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central to discuss all that is happening in the Minnesota sports scene. Here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
everybody. This is Darren Rodriguez. Are you a fan of volleyball? Are you a fan of Thunder Spikes? Then I have the show for you, Set Point, where I cover NCAA men's and women's volleyball, high school boys and girls volleyball, beach volleyball, and even professional volleyball. Catch the action every week here on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
And welcome back here to Fast Break here live for IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for sports. And thank you for tuning in with us tonight. Before we went out the break right there, I brought this up right here. Going over the brackets, all that good stuff, talking about the play-ins. And before we went to break, I said, hey, I got down the East. Let me go do the West real quick. Now, you look at the West side of things. You got let's go here. We got the Sacramento Kings and Dallas Mavericks in a 9-10 matchup. Now, I know I didn't get a chance to talk about Mike Brown getting fired heavily like I should have. And just real quick, I know it's months later, but real quick, I just think for a guy that came in and took that team to great success for the first time in a long time, it got them into the playoffs since the first time since I graduated high school, and that's in 2006. Like 2006. I'm 37 now. And down there close to the 20-year union, and the Sacramento Kings made the playoffs in that time frame. Something to think about. But anyways, Doug Christie's been the interim. And it's kind of real been so-so. They made the move for get Zach LaVine into the fold of things, and that's been Luke. I mean, I won't say lukewarm. That's just kind of like this being like when the shower turns cold, you got that faint hint of warmness in the water, and that's how that trade been for the Kings. All that stuff. Trying to pull that stuff up. They did win today's matchup against the Suns, which, I'll talk about more than in a second. But, in today's matchup against the Suns, Sabonis had 20 and 12. LaVine has 16 points. Keon Ellis, 9 points for him. Valanciunas, 22 points and 10 rebounds for him off the bench. McDermott, 6 points as well. So, with this team, they kind of match up similar with these two teams. I think you get better scoring off the bench if Malik Monk is back into the fold of things, which it looked like it's not. But if Malik Monk is ready to go for this play-in matchup, I'll pull that up. Which I don't see anything, about his status for the calf strain. But if he's good to go against the Mavs, I got to give the edge to the Kings. Now, why I'll say that, on the other side of things, you got the Mavericks. They've been injury depleted. The whole Luka thing has been real bad for really brought that franchise down. You got a lot of front office questions with them. Nico, what about coaching? If Jason Kidd, if they lose this game, is Jason Kidd gonna be scapegoated to be let go? Seem like ownership don't know what they doing. The new ownership don't know what they're doing. Seem like they bought the team out of whim. just because. And then they try to be in casinos and all that stuff in Dallas. If you Dallas folks in there, let me know how they feel about that. But the only reason I go with the Kings, they kind of been like a kryptonite to Anthony Davis for the most part, most of his career. Anthony Davis could come out and have a strong game. And I think one thing will work in their favor if they do win this game, if Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford play tough down low against the bonus and let Davis do his thing on the 4 side. I still contend, like many others, that Davis fit better in today's NBA as a 5. But Anthony Davis has Al Horford syndrome. Y'all don't know what that means, meaning that he doesn't want to play the 5 at all, even though he fits well at the 5. And he wants to play the 4. And I'm not saying he can play the 4, but, things just work out better if he plays the 5 and whatnot. And like Al Horford, he had to go elsewhere to play the 4 position, in which, after a while, it didn't work out like that. And lo and behold, Al's back in Boston flourishing. Davis, we'll see what happens with him. He got 2 bigs out there. He can play the 5, he can play the 4. We'll see how that works out for them. I just look at the matchup here. I said Anthony Davis got to have a strong game, monster game for Dallas to even get to this point right here. If he has a strong game and gets him here, hey, all good and gravy. But I just think Sacramento just got a little bit too much. I think you probably have either a monster game out of Levine or DeRozan's matchup. So I think Sabonis is good for a good 20 and 10. I think you kind of look at the guard matchup. Like I said, Malik Monk's playing. I think it goes more in favor of Sacramento. If he's not playing, guys like Keon Ellis, pull it up real quick. Keon Ellis, Devin Carter, those guys got to step up to carry Sacramento to the next round. But I think the front court for Sacramento should do enough to kind of lead them into this matchup right here. So I'm going with the Kings right here to beat the Mavs. And like I said about the Mavs, a lot of questions for them in the offseason. Mainly health, but a lot of questions on the front office and coaching staff. Now, the 7-8 matchup, you got the Golden State Warriors against the Memphis Grizzlies. Memphis Grizzlies, another coach who got fired during the season. So Taylor Jenkins is gone, and I forgot who the other dude was. I know he's European, but Taylor Jenkins is gone. So you got 3 coach openings in a sense: Denver, Memphis, Sacramento. And we'll see what else. And to the rumors out there, Budenholzer might be getting let go too. We'll see. We'll see about that, which would be kind of crazy to do that. But anyways, so you look at this matchup here. Golden State, Memphis. I'm gonna give the matchup to Golden State. Only reason I say that because, and we've seen this the past few years with Memphis, with their matchup against the Lakers in the playoffs years ago. It just seemed like a trend with them. It's just like, I like what the front office done. Some of the young guys they acquired over the years. I do like that, what they done. But it's just like, I don't know. It's just something is not clicking when they get to this point right here. Regular season, they're fine for the most part. But it's just like, they fine during the regular season, but it's just like very silly, stupid things that happens. Maybe with John Morant. And if he can keep him head and swivel and use him right, this team can go a long way. But not right now. And I think the Golden State Warriors will win this matchup. In my humble opinion. Can Memphis win this game? Yeah, they can. John Moran's got to have a monster game. Jaren Jackson, he's got to have a monster game, and especially in the paint, like rebounding wise. Not scoring wise, more like rebounding wise, because he's a weak ass rebounder for like a 7-footer. If I was 6'11", 7 foot, I'd be getting rebounds crazy. But for some reason, Jared Jackson is not like a strong rebounder. And you go against Draymond and Jimmy Butler down low and Kevon Looney when he gets his minutes in, it's going to be tough down there. But I think the Warriors been playing very well since they got Jimmy Butler. And I think that trend continues. And they'll win that matchup and be sliding in the 7th seed against the Houston Rockets. Which should be a good series if that matchup stands. Now, you got the Grizzlies and you got the Kings right here, the 8-9 matchup. Who can come out on top of that? I think this is where the run ends for Sacramento. I think Memphis will win this one. I think you'll see the hint of desperation for the Grizzlies, and they'll win that matchup and get matched up with OKC, in which they probably get blown out in 5 games right there. So I got Memphis winning that matchup against the Kings there. But when they get here, it's like they'll at least win 1 game. And I think OKC will handle their business against them. Barring help from this side of things, especially down low. But I think they'll win that matchup. And I think the big-time matchup between SGA and John Morant, it could be a sight to behold in that first-round matchup. Like, which young guard? And I think it should be conversations to be talked about on ESPN and stuff like that instead of talking about, Stephen A. and LeBron's beef and stuff like that. Who between these two young dudes, between John Morant, SGA, who could lead their team to multiple championships? Who can get them to the finals? You know what I'm saying? Between those two dudes, we should be having conversations with them, kind of like there was conversations back in the day about Chris Paul and Darren Williams. That type of, talk right there, point guard talk right there. We should be having those conversations between those two guys. Very similar in style. SGA is a little bit bigger, 6'5", 6'6". But we should be having those conversations about those two dudes. But like I said, recap. Sacramento, they'll beat the Mavs. In that matchup, it'll be a close game. Warriors being the Grizz right here. So you got the Warriors being matched up with the Rockets. And then you got the Grizzlies. They'll win that matchup against the Kings at home to play the OKC Thunder in the first round. So to recap, my 1-8 matchup in the East, I got the Bulls playing against the Cavs. Over here, I got the Magic going against the Celtics in the first round. Then I got OKC and Memphis, and I got Rockets, Warriors, and 2-7 matchup. And that's who I got right now in the playoffs, play-ins right now. I think the play-ins will be very entertaining and very strong, and should be very, especially this matchup here. I think that'll be the main one to watch. It's like who's gonna come on top, the old guard or the new guard that we kind of been waiting to anoint in the Grizzlies, but they just really haven't grabbed that brass ring yet. And we kind of been waiting for Memphis, waiting for John Morant, Jaren Jackson, kind of really take that hold. Excuse me. And they really haven't done it yet. It's kind of frustrating in a sense that they should. So, and kind of just look at the rest of the first round matchups and stuff like that. the Lakers, they get matched up with the Timberwolves. I think for the Lakers, I think for the first round matchup, that's your best possible outcome at all costs against the Timberwolves. And I don't think it'll be a cakewalk. It'll go to 6 games, but I think the Lakers should come out on top of that. Only thing I think will hurt the Lakers in this matchup is the size, especially with Rudy Gobert down low and the toughness of Julius Randle. But if you make Julius Randle like a jump shooter in this series, I think that'll go a long way for the Lakers. You know, you have to worry about Anthony Edwards, but you have to worry about his off the court stuff. Is kind of really just hanging a lot of things over his head right now. And I think, you know, with Luka in the fold, it's just kind of really changed the dynamic of this team. So I got the Lakers in the 6 this early odds. I say about a piece about the Clippers. If you look at the 2-7 matchup between the Rockets and Warriors, that should be a one. Like, it's hard to put what's going to happen there. Ime Udoka got those boys playing. Like, he got those boys playing. And one has to think, if you're Nets ownership, Joe Tsai out there in Brooklyn, if I was Joe Tsai, and I said my piece about him on the show in the past, him and Sean Marks, if I was him, if I seen the way in a short couple of years that Ime Udoka has changed that young team, and granted, yes, you had a couple of very pieces along the way in Van Vliet and Dillon Brooks and Jeff Green for locker room camaraderie, I'll be pissed as hell. We talked about deep about what Ime Udoka did and stuff like that, blah 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 blah. But on the other side, I've seen Houston in the 2nd seed in the playoffs with that young group. And I look at my side of things. I got a young group too. I'll try to get this guy immediately when he got let go by Boston, and the league said no, and Boston said no, and then come find out what really happened. Like, what the hell? Really? Really? Like I said, if I'm Joe Tsai for Brooklyn, I'm like, damn. I'm not saying we'd be the 2nd seed, but damn. I'm not in the gutter right now. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know if Ime Udoka will win Coach of the Year. I still give that to Kenny Atkinson. I still got to give it to Kenny Atkinson with the Cavs. But you got to give some consideration there. I know JJ Redd probably get some votes as well. But I think Kenny Atkinson will get the Coach of the Year there. But if you look at 2-7 matchup, it's tough to gauge. It's gonna be tough. You know, can the Warriors slow down Sengun down low? That's the main thing right there. Sengun kind of like, I won't say like Von Zubac, but I think a little bit more scoring threat down low. And I think if he can be like a 2010 machine down low in that series against the Warriors, I think it'll carry a long way with them. Now, you got the inexperience of this roster, not the coaching staff, but this roster that may carry a lot of weight. And you got the veterans on the other side in Jimmy Butler, who made multiple finals appearances. Steph Curry, NBA champion. Draymond, you know, Kevon Looney, Kuminga, Moses Moody, Steve Kerr on the sideline. You just got a lot of experience on the other side of things that, you know, you're going against the inexperience of these other guys on the other side for the most part. And yes, you know, Fred VanVleet, NBA champion, played very well in the NBA series against the Warriors years ago. You know, Jalen Green started coming to his own as a scorer in this league. You know, Jalen Smith, Dillon Brooks, you know, How you gonna play deploy Dylan Brooks? Do you have him guarding Steph? Do you have him guarding Jimmy? If Przinski gets hot, do you kind of put the clamps on him with Dylan Brooks? On the other side of the young guys with Houston, Torrey Eason, Cam Whitmore, can they show up and be great spoilers for the Warriors against the Warriors? A lot of questions right there in this series I'm very intrigued by. Can Yume Ikata get the young guys over the old guard? But right now, I got the Warriors, not the Warriors, the Rockets winning this in 6. I got the Rockets winning this in 6. Just because I think if you kind of look at the situation, it's kind of similar like the young talent of Memphis and Houston. They're kind of similar in a sense, but I think the head coach is more strong-headed. I'm not saying Taylor Jenkins wasn't strong-headed, but I think Yume Ikata's got more of like a discipline in them on the basketball side of things. So I got that match there. And then OKC, Memphis, I got like the OKC winning in 5. And then to the east side of things, real quick. Boston, Orlando. I think that series can go to 6, but Boston, they win that game. And like D-Locke said, you can eat on Orlando Magic guards. I think the guards will be eating very well on the Magic guards this series. So give me Boston in 6. The matchup I'm real intrigued about is the Detroit Pistons and New York Knicks. I think it'll be a tough matchup. The Pistons got a little moxie to them, a little toughness, kind of having that old Detroit spirit in a sense of the bad boy Pistons, and those Pistons led by Larry Brown and company. So this is a more intriguing matchup. Like, Jalen Brunson's been doing his injury and stuff like that. He seems like he's good to go. Kate Cunningham has really started coming his own. The injury's been hampering him in the past couple years since he's been in the league. And I think this team is really starting to come around and whatnot. It's tough to say where this series can go. I think give me the Knicks in 6, but I mean it's gonna be a tough 6. You know what I'm saying? But Detroit got some dogs, and I think one thing Bickerstaff will have to do in this series is maybe throw Karl Anthony Towns out of his game, but like someone like Isaiah Stewart. If you could throw Cat off his game for a good couple games, could tilt in your favor. If Kate Cunningham could use his size and stuff like that, who's like that, a guy who's 6'7", 6'8" point guard. If you use his size against Jalen Brunson and whatnot, if Bickerstaff can get him in like switches down low, down the post in the wing right there and take advantage there in close game situations, I think they can go a long way for the Pistons. And I'm kind of curious what Tom Thibodeau would do defensively, against Kate Cunningham and others. But give me the Knicks in 6 in that matchup. 4-5 matchup: Milwaukee Bucks and Indiana Pacers. Last year the Bucks, went out sad. I don't say sad, but Giannis didn't play in that series. They went out sad against the Pacers, and the Pacers made to the Eastern Conference Finals last year. It's real tough to say. But Giannis on the other side of things, I got to go with Giannis on the other side. I think with the Pacers, can Halliburton slow down Damian Lillard just enough at key moments? And can Halliburton also score consistently? Because at times he can score consistently in good stretch of games. Other times you look up, it's like, damn dog, where's the scoring at? But give me the Bucks. Yeah, give me the Bucks in 7. I think this is like one of these series that can go to 7 as well. So give me the Bucks in 7. And lastly, the Cavs against the Chicago Bulls. I watched the game earlier last week, excuse me, Bulls and Cavs when some of the Bulls starters were out. And at one point, the Bulls got on a run in the second half. Like, they closed the gap in single digits and stuff like that. And by the way, if you're a Chicago fan, y'all local folks suck doing the broadcast of the game. They're talking about Sanford Sun for a good 3 minutes or so. Like, the one commentator, he, I guess, describing to the white audience what Sanford Sun was and how the show is on and stuff. And I love Sanford Sun as well, but your team's going like on a nice run here. And y'all talking about Sanford Sun. Like, come on now. But eventually the Cavs, you know, they came back. You know, they went on their runs as well. And let me pull that matchup up. And they won by double digits, but it's like, you know, Patrick Williams, he had 21 points in that matchup I watched. Buzelis, 19 points for him. And what a good second half of the year that Buzelis has had for the Bulls. Horton Tucker, 17 points for him. Kind of led that charge for that run in that second half against the Cavs as well. But I think the Cavs will win this matchup in 5. They could sweep them. But I think the Bulls will at least get 1 in Chicago. But I think that you look at the Cavs, the help of Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland will carry them a long way. And I know Donovan Mitchell has missed some games down the stretch. But if he's not fully healthy, I can't put the Cavs all the way to the finals. I can't. But I do got them at least doing a gentleman sweep against the Bulls. So 4-1 series for me for the Cavs over the Bulls. Right there. Going to the chat real quick before I go to my last break. The T-Wolves are a better matchup for the Lakers. The Warriors will be a nightmare having to deal with Steph. Yeah. Steph and Jimmy Butler. So I think for the Lakers, yeah, you got a very strong, you got the best matchup possible. You didn't want to see the Warriors. You didn't want to see the Clippers in the first round. And the Nuggets in their disarray, yeah, you probably could like to see them. You know, could like seeing them. But yeah, I do agree with that. And also, I agree. The Lakers in 6 certainly won't be easy, but I think the Lakers healthy can't handle them. Yeah. Oh, yeah. It should be I won't say easy, but it should be handled as well. And also, he says, in the West, I got the Thunder in 5 over Memphis. Yeah. Same boat right there. The Rockets in 7 over Golden State. Lakers in 6 and Clippers in 7. Yeah. So me and you about in the same wavelength there in the first round matchups. And then he said, I'll take Atkinson for Coach of the Year with all due respect to JJ. Yeah, I think with Atkinson, it's been consistent from the start. For the word go from the season, it's just been right there all season. And at times, the Lakers look good at times, and other times, it's like you kind of seen the inexperience coming as well with JJ. But JJ's been solid. And then lastly, he said for the East, I got the Cavs in 5 over Chicago. Celtics in 7 Orlando. Ooh, we going 7 right there. That means Palin and Franz Wagner are going to have strong games in the series. Am I still on Boston? I think that's what he's betting on. Okay. The Pistons in 7. Ooh. I wonder how he come up there. Unless Kay Cunningham has a coming out party. That's the only thing I can really think of there. And then you got the Pacers in 6. Okay. Pacers in 6. Very interesting. Okay. I mean, I can see that as well. I mean, they do got home court advantage. But I think with Giannis back in the fold, back in the lineup for everything, I just thinking this time around, I don't think he's gonna go out like they did last year. Now you don't got Middleton there, for your for your late for your game time shots, stuff like that. So you got that factor taken away from y'all in the trade deadline. And now you got Kyle Kuzma in there. We'll see how that works out in their favor. But very interesting picks right there by one Mr. Rodriguez, especially on the east side. And he also says if Dame Time is back for the Bucks and the Bucks have a legit chance. Yeah, touched on, can Halliburton slow him down just well enough? And then also with Halliburton, though, yeah, you can throw Neesmith out there and McConnell out there to slow down Dame. But I think the main thing with Halliburton, though, is can the focus be there? Can you outscore him? Can you do nothing scoring-wise, get him in foul trouble, that you give your team a chance and put more pressure on Giannis? Kyle Kuzma, he'll get good scoring stretches in the series. But Kyle Kuzma's not going to beat you. Let's be real about that. Kyle Kuzma, a very good team and a good fourth option. He's developed into that. And that's no shade to him. But he doesn't have a late game awareness and stuff like that, like a Chris Middleton did. And also at Halliburton, I hope when the playoffs get up and rolling, he ain't worry about trying to watch WrestleMania and all that crap. Focus right here. Championship, Bucks right here. Division rival, focus. So there's that. So on to my last break here. On the other side of things, I don't know. I might talk about my disappointments, surprises of the NBA year, but I want to keep it minimal because I want D-Locke to get his thoughts in for next week as well. But this is Fast Break here live for iSports Sports Radio, your to follow sports, and I'll catch you on the other side.
What's up, Pittsburgh? This is Ralph Calise, the host of the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Are you that passionate diehard Steelers, Penguins, Pirates, or just a Pittsburgh sports fan? Then please join me on the Injury Report every Tuesday on IE Sports Radio, the direct feed for all that is sports, and I will update you on all that's black and gold and have you telling your Pittsburgh fans and friends what's up with Pittsburgh sports. Tune in Tuesday with me, Ralph Calise, the Injury Report on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Let's go!
Hello, IE Sports Radio family and other sports families. My name is Alden K, and I want to welcome you to the AZ Sports Zone on the IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. If you're a fan of the Valley and the Grand Canyon State like me, then I've got the show for you. Tune in every week, where I will update you and give you the latest news for the Arizona Cardinals, Phoenix Suns, Arizona Diamondbacks, ASU Sun Devils, U of A Wildcats, GCU Antelope, and of course, the NAU Lumberjacks. Again, if you're a Valley sports fan and like all that is desert sports like me, tune in every week here on the IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. We'll see you then.
And welcome back here to the show here. This is Davidson, Crooks, the Crooks process here. Want to have a fast break here live for IE Sports Radio. You're the week for all this sports. All right. I know I talked about the positive, brought up the process and disappointments of the NBA year, but I won't say the negative stuff for next week. I'm going to put my positives in the NBA season real quick. If you come into the NBA season, you know, it was kind of mostly, I won't say negative. It's like, you know, are the star players going to play? You know, who's going to play on that stuff? It's like a lot of, I won't say bad energy out there. But it's just like, you know, the positivity could be shine through better. And the league should have did a little better than that. But, you know, positively, you know, if you look at the, you know, landscape of things, you know, there's some good things that happen out there. Some good things. You know, Jokic averaging triple-double the first time for a center. I think that's great. You know, great for him, great for the game of basketball, especially in this day and age that a big man can average a triple-double like that. You know, that's great. Very, very great. You know, for him and his legacy. You know, future Hall of Famer. I did like that for him. And then, you know, kind of like the rise of the young guys. SGA, who might be the league's MVP, you know, this year. You know, for him, Victor Wembanyama. You know, I love Jerry McCain. He was playing very well until he went out with the injury with the Sixers. You know, I think kind of like the rise of some of these young guys that we hope will be faces in the league and stuff like that will kind of carry the future forward for the league. It's great seeing Kawhi Leonard for me. Personally, I love watching him play right now. I love that hopefully he's back in the swing of things, and I think that's a positive for me that he's kind of like back functional and playing heavy mids and stuff like that. So I think that's another positive right there. You know, going back to the young guys, Rosa Palapin, Carroll, Franz Wagner, those guys taking leaps as well, you know, for their respective teams. I like to see that. You know, the Cleveland Cavaliers, Kenny Atkinson, kind of taking that same roster and he's kind of really just shooting it to the moon. And, you know, Donovan Mitchell playing well for the most part for the year. Garland playing well. Mobley, Jared Allen. The bench is very strong. You know, guys like Dean Wade. You know, you got Hunter in the trade deadline. DeAndre Hunter in the trade deadline. Max Strus, Ty Jerome. Those guys playing very well for y'all. So I think, you know, Cleveland being top, you know, all year has been a great positive. Boston still staying strong. Great positive as well. And they're, you know, team excellence and whatnot for the past decade. Guys really getting their name out there. Tyrese Maxey, despite the 76ers' success this year, or lack of success, he's been real bright spot for that team as well. Really comes his own all-star nod. I think you're going to still continue to see a growth in his game as well. And I appreciate that, Brandon. That's a great show, boss. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir. And I know Brandon is really anticipating WrestleMania come up this weekend. So me as well. We'll see how that show shapes out. But good to see you in the chat here, sir. Also, other positives for me, trying to think of it right now. Luka going back to Dallas. Him getting the tribute video and stuff like that, him crying and stuff like that, the emotions right there. I think that's a positive in the sense like, people talking about these guys don't care to go to team, all that good stuff. But, with Luka crying and stuff like that in the intro, to lead his team to the NBA Finals this last year, him showing that emotion and dropping, 30 plus points in the first half. I think that's a positive in the sense like, okay, not all these guys just want to team up and stuff like that. You still got some emotion out there. And I think that's a positive because I think the league kind of needed that because, yeah, these guys care. Yeah, this guy did want to stay in Dallas for the most of his career. Him and Dirk probably talked about that. When Luka got traded to the Lakers and he played his first game there, Dirk was out there to watch him. Dirk went out there. And then Dirk was there when he came back to Dallas. Because Dirk fought like, damn. After I was gone, then, they drafted this kid in. And boom, he looked like a bonfire superstar. And like, damn, we're on and rolling again. I'm here to help him. Maybe he will surpass me in my legacy, but perhaps, and carry this thing forward in the future. But I think, I like I said, the emotion, the careness, he cares. The fans still care. They haven't let that go yet. I don't think they'd never let that go. It's kind of like, I listened to Bob Jones the other day. And he brought up, like, kind of comparing the Luka trade and Dominique. Like, once you got rid of Dominique, I lost my interest as a fan. And yes, Nick was older than Luka when he got traded, but the sentiment still stands. It still stands. You trade away the franchise and whatnot, and you're gonna lose fans of it and a lot of money out of it. So, I more to look at, that's a positive there. And then, I say as a Lakers fan, I like it's a positive is, we got somebody to carry the franchise forward potentially for the next few years. And look at Doncic. Because LeBron's up there in age, and we don't know how much he got. And then you got this, I don't say sweethearted deal, but you got Luka Doncic to fourth. And if you're a Laker fan, that's a great positive for you. It's a great positive. Now we got from the Lakers lineage, in a sense, George Mikan, Jerry West, Wilt Chamberlain, Kareem, Magic, Worthy. And then you get guys like Shaq, Kobe. And then you make the trade for Pau Gasol. And sprinkle in some Eddie Jones and Nick Van Exel in there. And then trade for Pau Gasol. Then after that, you kind of like in a rut for a little while. But then LeBron signs. And now you trade for Anthony Davis. And then you flip him for Luka Doncic. So if you're a Lakers fan, it's a positive for y'all for Lakers fans, because now you got another bottom 5 generational player. So that's a positive right there. So that's some of my positives of the year, around the league and stuff like that. I kind of, Jalen Brunson for me as another positive, his scoring ability and stuff like that has been very well documented. But I think a guy should make all NBA team out there. That's a positive there. Trying to think what else around the league. The continued success of Boston, that's a positive right there. And also, Team USA win the gold. I think that's a positive for some of those guys. Excuse me. Guys like Steph Curry getting his first gold medal. LeBron win his last one and whatnot. For them to go to Paris and win, I think that's positive comes to the season. And carry some momentum for some of these guys in their respective NBA teams. I think that's a positive on that side of things. On that side of the fence. But like I said, next week we will talk about the negatives and disappointments of the NBA season, and we'll see how what D-Locke thinks and whatnot, and my expanded thoughts as well. But I kind of want to say the disappointments for next week, because that's when you get to meet right there. You can get people lined up right there. But get this set up. But this has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us here tonight. I know the WNBA draft is tomorrow, which on a Monday, which I don't like. Those ladies, I think, should be on prime time. But, it is what it is. Just real quick on the WNBA draft. Paige Bueckers will go number 1 overall to the Dallas Wings. No questions about that. I think some other names were into our probably more depth draft there, but I think her as a long standout person right there. I think they'll go a long way for them. Other than that, you got Sonia for Notre Dame. She'll be another top name to look out for. Kiki Efron from USC, another name to look at as well. So, Morrow for LSU, another name to look out in the draft. But I think it's Paige there. I don't say Paige, but Paige and the rest of the field for the WNBA draft. You got Ashley Barker as well. She might be more mid-round in the first. So just look out for the WNBA draft. But Paige will go number 1 off for Dallas, and I think they go a long way for Dallas in their future right there. But this has been our show tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in with us here tonight. Follow the page on X at FastBreakISR. That's FastBreakISR. You follow D-Locke on Twitter at Black-813 and that's at Black-813. I think he's got the same handle on Instagram as well, so do follow him there as well. You follow me on X as well as Farm4288. That's Farm4288. Also, I do another show on the side called the Crooks Process. Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. I've been posting clips in a while. So I'm trying to get better on that, especially the NFL draft coming up here soon. I'll get on that for soon. Do follow sportsradio.com and go to the website, buy some stuff in the gift shop. Got a lot of great things in there as well. All Sports Radio for all your shows, news, and feeds as well. A lot of guys and gals do great work behind the scenes. So show your support on the website right there and go to that shop, buy something there. Until then, ladies and gentlemen, next week, the playoffs will be up and running. We'll talk about that. And like I said, our disappointments of the NBA season. But till then, I'll talk to y'all next week. Peace.